The story begins with Joachim and Anne, Mary's parents, who are distraught over their childlessness. Joachim retreats to the desert believing the Lord is punishing him, while Anne prays fervently. The archangel Gabriel appears to Anne and promises her a daughter, a gift unlike any other, who will fulfill Isaiah's prophecy. In exchange, Anne must promise to dedicate the child to the service of God and to dwell in his temple. Anne joyfully accepts. The political landscape is fraught as the Romans have appointed King Herod to rule over Judea. Herod's tyrannical reign has fueled discontent and an uprising among the Judeans. Herod is focused on rebuilding and enlarging the Second Temple to a magnificent splendor, claiming it as a return to God, though his actions are seen by many, like the Pharisees, as a monument to his own vanity and a way to gain Roman approval. A faction including the sister of the executed high priest Aristobulus seeks to restore the throne of David and views Herod as an illegitimate ruler. Herod, a paranoid and ruthless king, even has his own brother-in-law Costobarus killed on the advice of his sister Salome to quell rumors of a savior who might challenge his authority. Young Mary grows up exhibiting a bright and fast-paced nature. Her father Joachim explains that her birth was a miracle but reminds her of the promise made to God. Mary is eventually taken to the temple to fulfill this vow. There she is taught by the temple servants and priests, including Anna, a prophetess. Mary is dedicated to service, but she often sneaks away to the gardens, questioning the confinement of her life versus the possibility of doing good outside the temple walls. One evening, a high-ranking official, Lucifer, who serves the king's cause, attempts to interrogate Mary, sensing her dedication is to God rather than to Herod. He is stopped by Gabriel, who warns him off. The tension in the temple culminates when King Herod, accompanied by Roman guards, makes a show of power. He places a Roman eagle, Aquila, inside the temple, a move deeply offensive to the Jewish faithful. The high priest Bava ben Buta respectfully protests, but Herod violently humiliates him, pressing his mitre onto his head and warning everyone to remember their place, asserting his authority as the only king. Mary, witnessing this act of sacrilege and cruelty, causes a vase to tremble and fall, instinctively using an unseen power which draws the attention of the captain of Herod's guard. Anna intervenes and protects Mary from the captain's questioning. Mary begins to question her secluded life in the temple, feeling she can do more good outside. She expresses this to Anna, who suggests Mary's growing desire for freedom is about a boy. Meanwhile, a carpenter named Joseph encounters a man in a blue robe while hunting, who leads him to Mary. Joseph, profoundly moved by seeing Mary, immediately goes to her parents Joachim and Anne to ask for her hand in marriage. Her parents are initially hesitant due to Mary's vow to God, but when Joseph mentions the strange man in a blue robe and recognizes this as a sign that the original promise is evolving, her parents explain to a surprised and dismayed Mary that they have decided she is to be married to Joseph. Mary initially objects, feeling sold off, but they explain the latest visitation by the angel indicated this boy is meant for her. Mary and Joseph meet and are officially engaged in a ceremony during which Mary is still openly doubtful. Later, alone, Mary questions the Lord about the sudden change in his will, wondering why he only communicates through others and never directly to her. At this moment, the archangel Gabriel appears to her, confirming her fears were misplaced. He tells her not to be afraid, that she has found favor with God and that she is to become a mother and have a son who will reign over the house of David. Mary, still a virgin, questions how this is possible, and Gabriel assures her that with God all things are possible. The news of her miraculous conception, while initially overwhelming, begins to settle within Mary. She grapples with the immense weight of the prophecy bearing the son who will fulfill the ancient promise to David's line. Her initial reluctance to marry Joseph gives way to a quiet acceptance, understanding that this union is the divine provision for her protection and a cover for her impossible pregnancy. Joseph, a man of profound moral character, remains unaware of the angelic visitation, accepting the engagement based on the guidance he received in the woods and his immediate unshakable conviction upon seeing Mary. Meanwhile, the political climate under King Herod continues to deteriorate. The king's spies and Roman soldiers intensify their efforts to root out any resistance or rumors of a competing sovereign. Lucifer, the official who encountered Mary, grows suspicious of her and Anna, sensing a hidden power and allegiance that threatens Herod's claim as the king of the Jews. He reports his concerns, feeding into Herod's deep-seated paranoia. Herod, haunted by the whispers of a savior and the legacy of the true Davidic throne, becomes increasingly ruthless, determined to extinguish any spark of hope for a legitimate Jewish king. The tension between the temple faithful who yearn for a true messianic deliverance and Herod's Roman-backed regime reaches a critical point, suggesting that the arrival of the promised child will not be a peaceful event but one that plunges Mary and Joseph into the heart of a political and spiritual storm. Mary's journey is thus framed not just as a spiritual experience but as a perilous path where her unborn son is a direct threat to the most powerful man in Judea. The next steps for Mary and Joseph will involve leaving the relative safety of the temple and their families, guided only by faith, as they prepare for the birth that will alter the course of history. The archangel Gabriel, having delivered the news of her miraculous conception, names the child Jesus and blesses Mary as the vessel for this great gift. Meanwhile, King Herod, increasingly paranoid, expresses his philosophy to his servant Marcellus: beware the tyranny of the common good, which he views as a serpent. Driven by his need for control and a response to the growing discontent, Herod decrees a census, primarily to levy heavy taxes on the people as punishment for their ingratitude. Mary, now visibly pregnant, is immediately cast out of the temple by the other servants and priests, who believe she has broken her vow of chastity and brought disgrace. She returns home, where she confesses the truth to her mother Anne. Anne, remembering Gabriel's promise, confirms that Mary is the vessel of the promise and another miracle of faith. Knowing Mary's life is in danger under the law of stoning, Anne insists Mary leave to stay with her cousin, the aged Elizabeth, who is also miraculously pregnant with John the Baptist. Elizabeth confirms Mary's blessed status as her own child leaps in her womb at Mary's voice. Mary finds temporary peace with Elizabeth, but the scandal has already spread. Joseph is confronted by villagers who mock him, calling Mary a temple whore and a disgrace. He is urged to kill her according to the law. Mary's father Joachim also confronts her, unable to believe her story of a spiritual conception and heartbroken by the dishonor she has brought upon the family. He is terrified that she will be put to death. The confrontation climaxes when a mob led by angry villagers corners Mary, intent on stoning her. Joseph arrives just in time and protects her from the crowd, shielding her with his body and using his voice to disperse the zealous mob, though he is still reeling from the accusation. Later, Mary meets Joseph, who is struggling with his pain and confusion. She professes her love and honor for the child she carries and offers to love Joseph as best as she can. Joseph accepts her, having decided to believe her and love the child as his own. They are formally married, but their wedding night is interrupted by zealots looking for Mary and the seed she carries. Realizing they are no longer safe, Joseph and Mary prepare to flee. The danger intensifies when Joachim, Mary's father, betrays his own daughter to a Roman commander. Desperate to protect his son Noam from the suspicion of harboring zealots, Joachim offers Mary's name and location, falsely claiming she harbors rebels. The commander hears rumors of Mary carrying the real king of the Jews and a wandering star signaling his birth. Joseph and Mary flee, and Joseph suggests they travel to Bethlehem to blend in during the Roman census, as it is his ancestral home. Along the journey, they are stopped by Roman soldiers, forcing a young man, a friend of Joseph, to distract them so the couple can proceed. Mary also has a spiritual encounter with a dark figure, presumably Lucifer, who tempts her, offering to ease her pain and suffering and urging her to break free from her destiny. Mary resists and is comforted by the spiritual presence of Gabriel and the protective presence of Joseph. Upon arriving in Bethlehem, they find the city overcrowded due to the census. Joseph is denied shelter everywhere, the innkeepers all claiming to be full. He then learns the real reason for the crowd and the heavy military presence, the prophecy that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. Desperate, Joseph finds a humble cave or stable for shelter. There Mary gives birth to her son, whom she names Jesus. Meanwhile, 3 magi, wise men, arrive in Jerusalem seeking Herod, believing he will know the birthplace of the new king of the Jews signaled by the star. Herod, feigning interest, questions them and then commands them to return to him after finding the child. Shortly thereafter, a common shepherd confirms the birth of the Christ child in Bethlehem, further enraging and frightening Herod. He orders the slaughter of every male infant in Bethlehem, but instructs Marcellus to bring the Savior child to him alive. Warned by the shepherd, Joseph and Mary flee immediately with Jesus. Their escape is perilous, involving a close encounter with soldiers whom they evade by hiding the baby and releasing their wagon. They head toward Egypt. However, Mary is compelled to take a detour to Jerusalem. Despite Joseph's protests that the road is too dangerous, Mary insists they must take Jesus to the temple. In the temple, the prophet Simeon greets them, confirming the child's identity as the Messiah destined to cause the fall and rise of many in Israel. Simeon gives Mary a devastating prophecy: the sword will pierce your soul, warning her that the immense love she has for her son will cost her dearly, but that ultimately love will save the world. The film concludes with Mary and Joseph's awareness of the immense and dangerous journey ahead as they carry the hope of the world. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.